MP Jerome Laxale on his WeChat group telling his followers who might be considering voting differently from what they say in this Chinese Australian community that they have something in common with Nazis. Pauline Hanson. Is this representative a great way to engage with your constituents and your voters? I didn't think so, which is why I reached out to a few people that I know that might have a view themselves. I'm going to start first with Dr. Lin Bin, who was a candidate at the last council election, specifically trying to represent a multicultural view, an academic himself, and a leader of his Chinese community here in Eastwood and North Ryde. Second, Jeffrey Wang from the Chatswood Asian Taiwanese community, who has some views that I asked as well. And lastly, Edgar Sydney Daddy Lou, running one of the larger political channels in the Chinese language here with 220,000 subs on YouTube. I wanted to have everyone on here to try and talk about their reactions to these leaked screenshots, which are on a public WeChat page comparing no voters to racists and Nazis. And I want to start with Jeffrey first, who actually has some indirect connection to some of this. He's understand across the no side. Jeffrey, your first reaction when you saw these comments, what was your first reaction?
Look, the first thing that jumped out at me is just a very condescending tone that this exchange has been taken in, and it's sort of it's sort of symbolic. It's just like the larger way that this debate has been conducted, towards especially those people in the no camp. There's this assumption that people in the no camp cannot be voting no other than, the fact that they're racist, not taking into account that they might be informed by their own cultural experiences, right? So very clearly, if you follow the exchange over this, these Chinese Australians are, you can actually see that they're very incredibly sophisticated thinkers. They are logical thinkers. They even pointed out the logical fallacies in the argument under this WeChat account from who appears to be Jerome Laxale, who's a member for Bennelong. And the second thing that jumps out at me from this particular exchange is just the absolute hypocrisy of the WeChat account banning dissent. After accusing the no voters of being similar to Nazis, then they went and then acted like Nazis and then banned anyone that had any opinions other than their own. So yeah, it clearly isn't the kind of discourse I would have expected. Certainly not from a member of parliament in Australia who is supposed to be a free, a democratic country, right? So yeah, very, very disappointing that we have to put up with this, and certainly not someone that I would believe would be a good representative of the Chinese community there in Bennelong.
Edgar, can I cross to you on this one and say that given that these were, certainly Jerome and others, have been some of the staunchest advocates for migration and multiculturalism and supporting possibly many of the people in that chat to come to Australia, doesn't that community have a debt or some kind of service or loyalty to Jerome to when they have asked for his support to support him back?
Sorry. No, I don't think so. I don't think anyone own any MP anything, right? It's just he's just a representative. It's just not on any. He cannot assume that everybody has his opinion on anything, especially like a sensitive issues like that. One sentence among all the dialogue is particularly annoying to me because he said he compared the no voters to racists or whatever he wanted, Nazis or whatever, and then he said the logic there. Can I see the sentence? The logic is not hard. It says something like that.
There was a problem with the logic. Yes, we can see.
No, the next one. That's the response.
The
from
next one.
Jerome.
The logic of this is not hard to understand. That sentence to me is very, very condescending. It's just like I'm an adult. I'm talking to a 3 years old. It's not hard. The logic is there. Why can't you understand? It really annoys me because to be honest, logic is not like one of the strengths of Chinese people, because logic, the word, was actually from foreign countries. Is not. There's no such a conception of logic before 20th century. Okay, so it was totally introduced to China at the beginning of the first 20th century. So that's why that's not one of the strongest things of Chinese people. But don't play with us on that, okay? Because we are catching up. One of my channel. So basically, I do all the researches, and I try to tell people we should follow the logic, the real logic. We should be able to challenge anything, any opinion. We should be able to express our opinion in logic. So that sentence is just totally pissed me off.
What was when you first saw this, quite recently, your reaction to this was quite tell us, what was your reaction?
Because I just published a video like 2 days ago about my opinions, why I will probably vote no in this referendum. I give 3 reasons. First, I don't think it's appropriate, because I'm from communist China, right? I don't think it's appropriate to put any entity in the constitution, especially with power. Like I put any entity, like if you put a king in the constitution, then this is monarchy. If I put a party in the constitution, like this is a leading party or any leading class, then you are authoritative or communist dictatorship, right? So to me, it's not appropriate to put entity in there and entitle any power to them. But it's just my opinion. The second one is you don't. Sorry, what was that? The second one is sorry. The second opinions. Sorry, I'm not used to this kind of a. I'm very comfortable with hosting my own programs, not a.
Yeah, you're on your YouTube channel. You can stream for as long as you
right.
It's a little bit different. I get that.
Right. Basically, I try to reason why I would no, instead of just tell people if you don't vote no, that you are something.
Here's your video on it here. If I can bring it up briefly and share some of it, that you explained your views on it here. So I'd encourage people to go and check out Edgar's YouTube channel here. 250,000 you're almost up to. So congratulations to you on that. But I wanted to come over to Dr. Lin Bin, if I could ask him now about this section, which is there's a exchange that goes forwards where someone puts forward Warren Mundine, Jacinta Price, Lydia Thorpe, and explains that these were Indigenous leaders, not Nazis, and they're voting no. And if I can, and I know this isn't a direct reply, but the conversation goes forward about expressing opinions, but that Jerome takes the dialogue to that these comments are inappropriate, which continues with some of the thing that Edgar and Jeffrey said, that a sense of condescension.
Can I just make a couple of observations, sorry, Chris, while you're on that topic? If you scrolled up, you look at the person that made the comment around Warren Mundine, Jacinta Price, and Lydia Thorpe, right? I know they might have misspelled Lydia Thorpe, but the person that obviously made that comment is somebody who might be from a Chinese background, but has taken such a personal interest in the affairs of Australia that they've read, they've understood, and they're articulating this in a very well thought out manner, right? And I might remark also that Warren Mundine, Jacinta Price versus Lydia Thorpe have completely different reasons for why they're voting no as well. So that's something that we need to acknowledge, that people from the Chinese community, while they may not be able to articulate exactly why they believe what they believe, it doesn't mean that they do not understand. And so to treat them with such contempt and condescending attitude is just offensive. Now, the second part of this is the tone in how Jerome is trying to shut down debate, right? I'm reminding you, right? This is the authoritative figure that you and your words, these are inappropriate and you're not allowed. This sounds something more out of the communist censorship machinery. I mean, I don't know if Jerome's doing his own WeChat. Most likely is probably just a staffer, but whoever is employing there has the kind of attitude that I'm better than you. You know, the kind of way that they talk down to immigrants like we're some kind of they're subjects to be ruled over, and you know they're supposed to tell us how we're supposed to think. You know, that's the very reason why we're living in Australia. That's the reason why our parents left everything behind to come here, so that we can have freedom, so that we can have our the freedom to express how we feel, so that we can be treated like an equal in the country. So we're no longer second-class citizens in our own country. And so this is why this referendum is something that is so personal to people of the Chinese background, right? Specifically, and obviously Chinese of all sorts. You know, I'm from Taiwan, Dr. Lin Bin's from Hong Kong, but we care about this. And not only we care about this, we have read so much about this, and we have very informed opinions that we would like to share on this. And none of that has been reflected in the national conversation today, right? It's not been on the National Press Club. It's not been on any mainstream media, right? In fact, this is probably the biggest reach we'll have with with our opinions.
Can I come to Dr. Lindman? You've heard a little bit here, and I want to get your view. I'm sorry it took a little moment, but Dr. Lindman, you've been here for probably in this political discussion of multiculturalism views longer than any of us on what does it mean, who are we, what is okay to discuss, how do we integrate with each other and agree. Seeing these screenshots now, are we getting there? Are we getting closer to that goal of multiculturalism that I know a long time ago that you came to Australia for and you run on as a campaign still on? But does it feel like we're getting closer to it? Because I'm looking at this dialogue and I'm raising, it doesn't seem like we're getting closer to it. What are your views?
When I read this dialogue, I am very surprised by what Jerome did to the Chinese lady, because the Chinese lady just raised a different opinion, and the Chinese lady is a resident in Bangalore. Also, I'm also a resident in Bangalore. So Jerome is a member of the parliament, so he should listen to all kinds of opinions. But from this dialogue, I found that finally the Chinese lady was kicked out from the WeChat group. It's totally
Really?
inappropriate. Politicians should not do this to kick out some body that the opinion is different from you. So it's totally inappropriate. I think Jerome should apologize to the Chinese lady.
For the banning, and you think she should be unbanned. Can I also highlight that Gary Patney, not that long ago, was another political candidate that was running that was also banned from social media pages for innocuous disagreement. And I think that if I can get the message from everyone here, that there was nothing here that warranted banning. And I don't think anyone here is saying that this is particularly conflict-laden conversation, but we're still ending up here. Can I go back to Edgar, if I can, and raise with him? You've probably heard of the term the model minority, the goal that you should fit a certain mold as a minority. There's a certain definition set for you. And as I raised with Jeffrey earlier, that there's a view that there's a certain loyalty that you owe to the advocates of multiculturalism, and you rejected that. But is this rather than the model minority being on the minority, you've got the advocates here being unable to understand that is a myth, that isn't how it is turning out in practice, and that rather than monoliths of cultures, views, races, or whatever, you're individuals. We're all individuals. We have views, we have values. But I ask you, looking at these screenshots, Edgar, can Jerome tell? Because I'm really looking at these screenshots and I'm thinking, I'm not sure Jerome can tell. Have you seen this beyond Jerome, that people just can't tell that you're not just the color of the skin, the background of where you were, the community of, all of that kind of, you're just a model minority, that you're individuals. Have you experienced this beyond these screenshots, but you've seen that elsewhere?
Yes, I can because in the public, in any public dialogue, you can feel lectured by someone, like what we just saw here. You are, because I guess model minority is quite offensive to the people on the left side of the political spectrum. It's like this community is siding with the white community or whatever. Yeah, but I guess they have different kinds of definition or conception of what a modern minority should be, which means that it should side with them. It should side with them, always side with them. So they take us for granted, and I guess that's why Jerome have this kind of naturally have this kind of dialogue with someone from his own electorate and kick him out. That's kind of a mindset.
And I think if you point out the assumption behind that particular exchange and that particular dialogue is the fact that he thinks that people of a particular background, like the Chinese, should all think the same, should have all the same opinions, and if you don't, you must be causing trouble to the point that you need to be kicked out, right? Which actually goes to the very core why this idea of the voice is going to fail. Right. So even if we take the best, reading that this is just a advisory body with no legal issues after it's enshrined in the Constitution, if we take that reading and say that it's a rather modest proposal, the reality is that the voice that they expect from this community should, it seems to be one that is in agreement and in unison, and it goes against the very nature of what this voice, is supposed to achieve. And now look at this. If you just look at this exchange as a microcosm of what could happen after this voice is, if this voice was implemented, if the voice was to say something that is not liked by the government, what do? They ban the voice. So how is this voice supposed to work in practice if all they're going to do is silence anyone that disagrees? So this whole thing just goes on to show that even though they may support something like this in theory, but the reality is they don't actually believe in democracy. They don't believe in listening to the people. And I have absolutely zero faith that the voice is actually going to reflect the people of the community. Now, if you were to take any other group, now I'm taking, just take one particular group, maybe the Chinese community, the Muslim community, Armenians, whoever. If you were to say to this community, I'm going to give you 24, the government's going to appoint 24 representatives to speak on behalf of your community. Do you think the government would do a good job to actually capture the 24 people that can speak on behalf of your community? I'm guessing, people are going to be very skeptical, because the whole very reason why this voice is supposed to exist is because the government's done such a poor job of representing them. Even if you were to let the community themselves, the self-appointed leaders of the community, to become speakers of this community, that would be a poor job. I mean, just think of those people who are purporting to speak for our community today. So if that's not acceptable by any other multicultural community of Australia, why would that be acceptable for Indigenous Australians? Right. And the fact that they think that this is an acceptable proposal and that is somehow would capture the voice of Indigenous Australians, that in itself is a racist thought.
Because they were here first. That's the argument we're going to keep coming back to, is it's about time. The view is the longer you're here, there's certain indigeneity, as Noel Pearson says, about it. A certain responsibility is seen to all of us. And I'm going to cross now to Dr. Lindman again about that. Dr. Lindman, you will barely remember the 1990s. We had discussions about this. You might remember things like ATSIC. Dr. Lindman, what do you remember the dialogue ever being like this? Like, what was our discussion around indigeneity and Aboriginal relations in the Chinese community? Like, how did that work? Has it always been like this, Dr. Lindman, or is this something new?
Actually, I'm very surprised by this dialogue. Some times ago, I once tried to contact Jerome about another issue, and I asked him to arrange a face-to-face meeting with me. But finally, he refused. I don't know why. And he just have a very short dialogue. I think just a text message with me. So I think any politician should listen to the voters, because I'm a local resident in Eastwood for it's over 20 years, and for a long time I also was a supporter of the Labour. And in recent year, I found the Labour Party changed a lot, and I tried to contact Jerome, but it seems I don't know why he maybe just like to listen to somebody that listen to him, but he doesn't like to meet the people who have different opinion, I think. So from this dialogue, we can find this situation, because Jerome is not agree with this Chinese lady. So this Chinese lady was kicked out from the research group. So it made me very surprised. So politicians should not do this to the voters. So I don't know what to say, but
No, I understand. I understand what you're meaning there. I want to come to one last topic, which is the question will come up of, is this actually Jerome? Is this actually represent where he is? And I want to bring up some more screenshots of the profile. Not being a native speaker, I use an automatic translator if I can photo. Is this actually Jerome's page? We may not know who's operating. I understand that he may have outsourced the management for the page, but this does look like his page, right? Yes, guys, or is this a fake page?
Looks like it's authorized, but you know, I looked at, you know, you're obviously given the benefit of the doubt that it might be operated by you know, a private entity or a third-party entity that may be, you know, more proficient in the language. But certainly, you know, he needs to take some responsibility for the opinions that's expressed if he's explicitly authorized it. Now, obviously, you know, devil's in the detail, and we should give, with all things on the internet, the benefit of the doubt that this might be a fake account out there to troll him. But you know, I guess your guess is as good as mine.
Okay, great. Jeffrey, I know you need to hop off, but I have some more questions to ask of Edgar, if I can. Jeffrey, thank you for your time, and thank you for that time we were there. Edgar, you bring up the topic of logic and reasoning behind this, and that's been raised by a lot of different people about how this topic is even being discussed. Certainly from when I got into it, I started very much like you, we were discussing it, undecided like you. But over time, the emotive pull to me fended me off, where a lot of people were saying to me, oh, just, you know, it's about the heart and have empathy and modesty, and that turned me off. And you were speaking about logic there, and you've gone on a journey over the past few weeks and months in deciding how you're going to vote. How did you get to that? Like did you find a similar theme, that one side was trying to go with logic, or was the no campaign filled, did you find it filled with fear and hate? Tell us about your journey and how you came to your conclusion on how you're going to vote.
No campaign with fear and hate?
That the yes campaign says that the no campaign is filled with fear and hate. The no campaign says the yes campaign wants you to vote on a vibe, and that's not good enough to go with a legal constitution. Tell us your thoughts.
No, basically, I have told my audience that I will make a video explaining my stance 4 weeks ago, but I just finished the video last week. It's because I spent the last couple of weeks read the opinions from both sides. I actually watched all the speeches from the National Gallery of Journalism, National Press Gallery, right? like all the from yes side and no sides, and I try to understand why where the yes side come from and where the no side come from. So after that, I came to through my reasoning, I came to three reasons why I will probably vote no. I still haven't decided yet. I might change at the last moment, but right now, the yes side haven't given me any solid reason, basically, to change my stance. Now, I would like to point out one more thing in this dialogue. So obviously, they try to compare no voters to Nazis, assuming that Nazi is like a scary monster to all the multicultural communities, like the scariest monster to all the communities. But remember this, Chinese people, yes, we hate Nazis. Okay, we don't want to do anything with Nazis. But the far left ideology behind some of the yes voters, I can use the same logic. Okay, some of the yes voters, they are far left ideologists. That kind of ideology is also very scary. Okay, not almost as scary as compared to Nazis among Chinese community. Even the pro-Chinese government, those people who pro-Chinese government don't agree with far left ideologies. That's also a very scary monster. So don't do this scare campaign. Don't do that. Like Dr. Lin just said, it seems that Jerome only listened to people who he liked to listen to. Maybe we should have open dialogue, open conversation on this subject and others.
Great. Dr. Lin, some final thoughts before I wind this out, please. What are your some conclusions on final words, please?
Yeah, I would like to say a few words about the referendum booklet, because I also read both sides' reason. But for the case for voting yes from the booklet, let me see. It said that voting yes is about recognizing Aboriginal and also listening to advice from Aboriginal people. So I wonder why we should have a new voice from the Aboriginal, because we have already had our parliament members. The parliament members are elected by all Australian people. So I think this parliament member already can represent the voice of the Aboriginal people. They can raise the opinion from the Aboriginal community. So if we need a new institution for the Aboriginal, I feel very surprised. And also, when I read the booklet, it said that why we need it. And the booklet said that there are big challenges facing Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islands people. Life expectancy 8 years shorter than non-Indigenous Australians. Worse rates of disease and infant mortality. So when I read this sentence, I found that, so how about our health minister and the health department? I think they should resign. If they haven't solved this kind of problem, they can't fulfill the needs of the Aboriginal people. So I think the health minister should resign in this case. And the booklet also said that a suicide rate twice as high and fewer opportunity for education and training. So this is issue about the social affairs, the social welfare. So maybe our minister for the social welfare should resign, because maybe somebody hasn't do the right thing for the Aboriginal people. So I read this booklet in details. It made me very surprised. So for our member of parliaments, I think they already done many things. But from this booklet, it means now our parliament members seems do nothing. That's why we have to establish a new voice for the Aboriginal people. So it made me very surprised. So if the reason for the yes is correct, so I think maybe some of our ministers should resign from the parliament. Okay, thank you.
No, thank you very much. That's a view I hadn't heard before. Edgar, last comments before we wind it up. Thank you. Do you think the health minister should resign because of a failure to deliver on promises?
One argument from no side, I think it makes sense. Like if we already have a lot of funds on Aboriginal stuff, so why we should probably sort out like why it didn't work out in the first place, instead of like giving more rights, giving more funds, keep giving. So I agree with that. As for whether the minister should resign, probably if someone has to be held accountability, then it must be the ministers. And can I add one more thing? I hope this referendum can be an opportunity for all of us, especially for the Chinese community, okay, to actually get educated in Australian politics, so that we can, how can I say, whether the result, no matter what the result will be, we should respect it and just keep walking.
Great. Thanks for both of your time. It was great to speak with you directly about this topic that is directly affects you. Certainly, Dr. Lin lives within the seat of Jerome that he is speaking of, as do I. And you live in neighboring seats within that community. So this was great to speak to you directly about this with those views. And actually, I'm not sure we've actually spoken about, but why we're all going to end up voting no. But we all end up there. It was great to hear Dr. Lin why he's decided to vote no. Even I would not be unsurprised if he'd end up voting yes. But the reasons why he's going to vote no, that was great to hear. And Edgar, when we spoke a while ago, you were undecided if you were going to vote yes or no, and you've come to that conclusion. A video which you've put up on your YouTube channel, which I don't have quite here. That's okay. But check out Edgar Sydney Daddy Lou. That's Sydney Daddy on YouTube. He's got a Facebook page as well, but check him out on YouTube. And thanks for everyone's time. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Chris.